Welcome back, folks, for an Aussie shared quick tip. Have you ever been in a situation where you want to torque down a nut or a stud and you just have absolutely no bloody access to it? You can't get anything on it. You can't get a socket on it. You can't get a ring spanner on it. You can't get a bloody crow's foot spanner. You can't get a crow's foot socket on it. Absolutely bloody nothing. But yet you really need to torque it down to the factory torque specs. Now, that's a situation that I've just come across here. Again, it's a situation that I've come across many times over the years, and it's something that used to absolutely frustrate the hell out of me. I actually found a device quite a few years ago that just nails that situation perfectly for me. I've used it many times over the years. It's not a tool that I get out very often, but when I do, oh my God, am I bloody happy I've got it. What it enables you to do is to use a open-end spanner, a ring spanner, any type of spanner on a torque wrench, and mate, it's an absolute godsend. And in this situation, I've got these turbo manifolds here that I've built for my engine, and on the drive side bank here there are two nuts on two studs that are completely inaccessible, one more so than the other. One of them is buried right down the back here. There's no access through the front, and there's an exhaust port runner going across in front of it, and there's another one up here which is slightly more accessible, but not to a point where you can even get a ring spanner on it. You definitely can't get a socket on it because the port runner comes across in front of it and there's no room around it to get a ring spanner on. It's just too tight against the manifold. And this one down here, forget about it. There's not a chance you'll bloody get even close to getting onto that one. So the only spanner that you can get onto these guys is an open ender. And, you know, how do you get torque settings with an open ender? Well, there's a way, folks. Let me take you over to the bench and show you. So what I have here, folks, is this little device here. It's an adjustable torque wrench adapter. It's made by a company called Motion Pro in the good old US of A. And this is an absolute bloody godsend. As far as I know, they're the only company that makes a device like this. I have no affiliation with them, but mate, do yourself a favour. You've got to get one of these. If you do any sort of mechanical work where you use a torque wrench, you need one of these guys. So let's get it out and have a bit of a look at it. You can see it's a nicely machined piece of tool steel, and it has a square cutout on the back for a 3/8 drive. And I've got a 3/8 drive adapter on the torque wrench here that just goes onto it. Very nice indeed. So you can see there are a couple of Allen head bolts on here, and the device just opens up. Now what that enables you to do is slip a spanner in here. So you can use either the open end part or use the ring spanner part if you have access to whatever it is with either one of those ends of the spanner. Unfortunately, with both of the nuts that I'm trying to get to there, I can't get a ring spanner on them. They're completely closed off. I can't get a crow's foot spanner on them either. There's just no room. At best, I could possibly chop up a ring spanner in certain areas to get me on there, but I'd find once I got past a certain rotation, you know, the shape that I've made on the ring spanner probably wouldn't work anymore. But I do have access with an open ender. Being able to get an open ender on there and move it slightly and then either turn the open ender over to get back onto the other flat on the nut or whatever. But I do have access with an open ender. As you know, open enders can tend to round things off. If you have got a flogged out open ender or a flogged out nut that you're trying to get it on, I only do this when I've got a good nut. If the nut is flogged out, I will replace it, and a reasonably newish spanner. It doesn't have to be a particularly high quality spanner as long as it is of a reasonable quality and is a good fit on the nut, because generally I will modify the spanners as well. Sometimes you don't have to. It really depends on the situation. You can see this spanner here. I've just finished modifying it for those nuts that I've been doing there. You can see I've ground the side off on one side here, and you can probably also tell that I've actually shortened the spanner in comparison to, say, this one. Now, what that's for, it just gets me in tighter into the area there, and you can see I've only shortened it to a point where the the tip of the outside of the spanner finishes where it engages on the flats on the nut, so it's not actually losing anything, because anything that extends past that point on the nut is of no value for your spanner. It's not actually doing anything. And if that bottoms out in whatever recess you're trying to work in before the back of the nut hits the back of the spanner there, you're actually weakening your grip on the nut, because the further you are away from this point down here, the more flex there is in these arms on either side that stick out on your open ender. So you just want to get the spanner down as tight as you can. So what I've done is I've just basically reshaped the end of the open ender to give it a little bit of strength, but also so that I can cut it back slightly to fit into the recess better without weakening it. Now, this isn't something that you always need to do. Often you can just grab an open ender off the shelf, throw it in the device, and you'll do the job absolutely fine. But this is an extra tight situation with no access for anything else, and really only one go at it. So I've done everything I can so that I successfully do this in one go, you know. So how this works is, as you can see here, I've just clamped a spanner in the end of it there, and so you just fit it onto your torque wrench. It just clips on like so. Very nice. Now, when you get the little device, it comes with a set of instructions, and the instructions has formulas here which show you how to calculate the required amount of torque that you'll need to put on it to give you your factory spec. So depending on how you've got your spanner set up, if your torque spec's 60, you might need to put 80 on the torque wrench, depending on how you have the spanner. But the majority of the time I use it, I don't need to make any calculations and any adjustments at all, because if you use the spanner as it shows here in this diagram, with the spanner at 90 degrees to the torque wrench, regardless of how far in or out the spanner sits in relation to the center line of the torque wrench, the torque applied by the spanner is exactly the same as the torque wrench. So if you need 60 foot-pound and you're using the spanner at 90 degrees, all you do is just set the torque wrench to 60 foot-pound and you're good to go. So that's the way I use it the majority of the time. As you see here in this other drawing, you can have the spanner at straight ahead or any angle, and there are formulas on the back to calculate the length of stick out for the spanner, the amount of torque that it applies, and all that kind of stuff. So you can use it on any angle in any situation and still properly calculate the required torque. But once again, as I say, for me, most of the time I can use it in this configuration without having to bloody pull out a calculator or do anything at all. Just pick the thing up, put a spanner in it. As long as I'm at 90 degrees, I know I'm good to go with the factory torque spec. So mate, the thing is a godsend, honestly guys, to be able to actually get into areas that are inaccessible to any other thing, and to be able to actually do stuff up to the correct torque setting. It's just a really, really good thing. So we'll go back over the engine. I'll give you a bit of a demo. So as I say, folks, all you need to do is have the thing sitting at 90 degrees. So you can, you know, have your spanner either poking out of that side or out of that side. Whatever's going to work with your sort of setup. Or like I say, if you want it on any other angle, there is formulas there that you can use to correctly work out exactly what you need. So I'll just get onto one of these nuts. Here we go. This is one of the tricky ones here that I'm setting on there now. As you can see, it just sits on there like that, and I've got the torque wrench set up for the right amount of torque, and it's just a matter of using the torque wrench as you would normally, and there we go. I torqued that up earlier. That's why it's clicked off at the right torque setting straight away. But as you can see, that's an open end wrench on that nut down in there. It didn't slip off the nut. It didn't sort of turn around on it. And the torque setting that I'm using here is 22 foot-pound or 30 newton meters. So it's not a massive amount of torque that I'm applying to it. But generally, that's kind of the range of nuts that you will find it hard to get to. If it's things like head bolts and things like that, they're usually much more accessible. It's, you know, 9/16 and half-inch, 14mm, 13mm bolts that are hidden away on manifold flanges and engine mount, bloody bits and pieces and alternator bolts and things like that, that are the ones that are always hard to get to. This setup does it easily. Believe me, folks, do yourself a favour. Pick one of these up. I've just been doing this process and I thought, wow, it'd be really good to make a video and show people how this works, because for me it was such a really great find, and I know almost no one is aware that these things exist, and everyone struggles with this sort of stuff. So I've just gone and had a bit of a look on my computer and to see if I could find these things, because like I said, I've had this for probably, mate, a good 10 years, probably more, maybe even 15 years, and you can actually buy them on eBay. Now I searched for torque wrench adapter and stuff, couldn't find it, just found all this bloody Chinese crap on there that is like digital bloody torque wrench things that are just garbage. So I searched this by brand. It's Motion Pro is the brand, and it was really hard to find. So I've put a link in the description of the video. So if you scroll down in the video description, you'll find a link there that'll take you straight to it on eBay. The link I've got on there is for the cheapest one that I could find, so you should be able to find it really easy. These things are actually used in the motorcycle industry. They're not generally a product that's sold in the automotive car area with tools and equipment. Obviously with motorcycles there's probably lots of nuts and bolts that you need to get to that are very, very hard to get access in for a torque wrench. So that's why that industry has come up with this product. But it is absolutely invaluable to have in your toolbox for building engines and doing any work on cars with. A really, really good tool. Anyway, folks, I thought you might like to see that. I just pulled it out to use, and I thought, bloody hell, people would be really interested in this, because it is a product that almost no one knows anything about. You never see them, and it took me a lot of effort to find it originally. So I hope you like it, guys. As always, thanks for stopping by the Aussie Shed. Remember to like and subscribe, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.